Today we got 30 Crusader Kings 3 tips that can hopefully help beginners and more experienced players alike. As when you first play the game, it can be massively overwhelming, as I'm sure you're all aware, but it's a game that's 100% worth sticking with. So hopefully you may learn a few things from this video. Also, if everybody watching this subscribed, I'd hit my goal in no time, and it really would mean so much to me. Thank you. First up, if you start as a feudal vassal, always modify your contract. Give extra levies to your liege and get council rights in return. This will allow you to demand any council position, giving you some really great bonuses, but especially being your liege's steward for all that extra lovely gold. Building is essential to thrive. When I first started playing, I almost never built, and this will just result in you being left behind by all your neighbors, especially with the recent update, as it makes AI build way more depending on their personality traits. On the topic of personality traits, it's always worth educating your children yourself until they get all 3 of their traits at 13. Then just let some genius educate them to try and improve their education trait. As if you don't pick their traits for them, they will just end up with shy, lazy and compassionate, and they'll just be terrible, no matter their education. One of the first things I do every playthrough is to marry all of my courtiers to bring more people to my court. This is just a fantastic way to fill council positions and bring high prowess knights to your armies. This is also useful to find a court tutor who can help your children get higher level education traits, especially if the tutor has genius, as that gives them a plus 30 aptitude, massively increasing the chances of that sweet level 4 education. If you are the culture head, which can easily be seen here, you will really want to go into the learning tree and pick up a scientific. This will boost your fascination progress by 35%, which can easily knock a few years off of unlocking innovations, and they can be massive for you, allowing you to recruit more men at arms as well as unlocking new buildings. Another way to increase your fascination progress is to increase your development. I basically always have my steward to increase development if I'm clan or feudal, but if I'm tribal, I don't bother, as development just isn't important to tribal rulers. But each point of development gives an extra 0.5 taxes and levies. Development also spreads to neighbouring counties, so I usually max out my capital and just let it spread. Don't bother increasing the control of your vassal's land. It's a waste of time. Instead, have your marshal train commanders. This will improve your knight's skill, unlock them new traits, as well as increasing your knight effectiveness, and it even has a chance each month of finding you new knights. But always remember to go into your knight's tab and forbid any very important councillors and heirs, otherwise they will die, and it will be incredibly frustrating. Early game, money can be tight, but if you go into the stewardship tree and unlock golden obligations, you can give up hooks for gold. So then you just set your spy master to find secrets in someone's capital, then blackmail any secrets you find and demand a payment from them. Always remember you can reset perks for a little bit of stress. This can be so useful when you die and your heir has gone up the seducer tree instead of the schemer tree, like, ew. Or if you just need to achieve different goals later in your character's life. Not going to lie to you, I don't think I noticed this button for my first 100 hours, so, there's that. If you're a part of a faith with communion, the biggest being Catholic, you can trade piety for gold, and this can be pretty OP, especially if you have a bigger realm, as I've been able to consistently get over 1,500 gold from the Pope. On the other hand, if you make your own religion with communion and temporal head of faith, rulers of your faith will ask you to forgive their sins by paying you gold. I use this in my creating a cult videos, and it just ends up being a money printer, it's insane. Heirs and succession can be a pain, but if your religion has monasticism, forcing your kids to go into the learning education makes them much more likely to accept being a monk, resulting in them being removed from succession and saving your renown for more useful things. If you're interested in playing multiplayer, come join my Discord, the link is in the description. We used to host games every weekend, and they will be starting up again soon. While going to war, always consider that they may be able to afford mercenaries if they have a decent amount of gold. Or, if your faiths consider each other hostile, there's a chance they bring the Holy Order. So don't just underestimate someone who has less troops, always be prepared. Men-at-arms are absolutely essential in CK3. They absolutely shred through levies, and and often allow you to beat much larger kingdoms if they haven't invested in them themselves. Hover over their troop count, and if like 90% of their army is just levies, and you have a decent amount of men at arms, odds are you can easily defeat them. Troop count just isn't everything. Being over the domain limit can be terrible for your taxes, but if there's some titles you can't hold right now but you do want to keep for yourself, you can grant titles to older characters who are much less likely to have children, or impossible if they're a woman. Meaning once they die, the title will pass back to you. Just please make sure they don't already have children when you give them the title, otherwise, yeah, it's gone. Always make sure your spy master likes you. I'll always choose a worse spy master who likes me over a great one who hates me, as they will join plots to murder you, and they will be incredibly effective at doing so. You do need to be aware of this as well for some court jobs, like your physician and bodyguards. If you have spare land, I often grant the title to a noble. This basically spawns a character in, and sometimes you get really lucky and get a fantastic character that can go on your council or be a very effective commander, which is just a lot better than giving it to some random character already in your court. Always make sure your personally held land has max control, as it will decrease if it gets attacked during a war or through certain events. But every point below 100 gives a -1% tax and 0.5% levies, so low control across your domain can really tank your economy if it's left to get worse over time. During events, you can change your wife's council position to get better results. There's no cooldown or drawbacks to changing their job, so this is just very useful to getting favourable results during events. And if your religion is polygamous, you can even switch entire wives during events, which is just great. Often, the best armies consist of one troop type and siege equipment. As if I just buy loads of archers and then build military camps in all my holdings, at the max level they offer an 18% plus archer damage, which will stack for each different building, making your army incredibly effective. This of course also works with other troops, you just need to build the right building that buffs them. When you get larger, vassals will eventually form factions to fight you. The most effective way to end this fast is to find the main attacker's capital, raise your troops as close as possible, and siege their capital straight away, often giving you enough war score to wipe peace and end the fight. In regards to factions, I found them much easier to manage if I only give vassals one county each. You will end up with many vassals, but they will be so weak and easy to manage. Eventually, you will reach your vassal limit, and at that point, you will need to make some of them dukes. But that won't happen until later in the game, when you hopefully have some decent men at arms. If somebody in your court gets a spreadable disease like the plague, quickly dismiss them before it spreads to your family. If you're unable to do this though, you could imprison them and then banish them, or if you do want to have some fun, you may be able to marry them off into another ruler's realm, and then you can sit back, relax, and watch the havoc begin. Making your future heir your physician will allow them to improve their learning by 4, and they also get a huge boost to disease resistance, which always comes in handy. On the other hand, you could make your bishop your physician to improve their learning if you do want to get them quicker claims. Vassalization can be a great way to expand. True ruler in the diplomacy tree grants a +20 acceptance chance. Also, if you have the diplomacy court type, you can even get a bigger chance relating to what level your court grandeur is, and both of these together can often be enough. If it's not though, there's thoughtful, which doubles the opinion gained from sending gifts, and defensive negotiations, which makes other rulers gain +15 opinion of you, and of course the ability to befriend rulers. All of these together will more often than not allow you to take entire kingdoms without a single troop being raised. Please do not underestimate how important supplies are. Without enough supplies, your armies will starve, die, and fight less effectively. More often than not, it's better to just retreat and let your supplies recover while your enemy's supplies lower, making them a much easier target. I mean, unless you set that terrible heir of yours as the commander and you want them to be killed, I mean, hey, I'm not judging. The last point is something I covered a lot more in depth in my intrigue guide video, but it's so easy to get your family onto massive kingdoms and empires without a war. If you check the title inheritance and marry one of your children off to theirs, of course make sure it's matrilineal if you marry off a daughter, so all the children will be of your dynasty. Then you just need to murder everybody ahead of them in succession, and of course the current ruler. And just like that, your family is now incredibly powerful. Thank you all so much for watching. Hopefully you did at least pick up something new. Of course, veterans with hundreds, if not thousands of hours, probably know the vast majority, or if not, probably all of this. But if there's any other tips, drop them in the comments. I'm sure other people will look down there and find it useful. And of course, a massive thank you to Intermia1, Endulus, and Victor Voss Anderson. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and hopefully see you in the next one.